Welcome back to the Coaches Show. I'm your host, Michael Watson, and sitting to the left of me is the head women's coach here at UIS, Chad Oletzke. Coach, how you doing?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing okay, and it's been a while since we actually talked to one-on-one, and I was wondering how's your break, and how's the translation into from break into coaching going?
Pretty good. Breaks always go fast, especially in the basketball world. It doesn't seem like you get a whole lot of days. They've got the new rule with Division II kind of stuff that we have to have 7 days off. So that was interesting too. That's been the longest break for a basketball team that I've had to coach, and so it's been interesting trying to get the kids back from break and get them up to speed and going again to somewhat where we were before we left for break. And I thought they did a good job coming back and getting ready to play here starting the second half of the year.
Well, over break, you guys have had a handful of games, and you're currently 4-8 overall. And I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on your team so far at this point right now in the season.
We've been making strides. That's the good thing to see is you're always going to have to constantly get better, and you would want those wins to come right away at the beginning of the season. I think every team would want to stay undefeated, but I think the goal for our team and program has always been to get better continuously throughout the year, and hopefully be playing our best basketball in February or March, and give ourselves a chance to make the conference tournament and make some noise once we get into it. And we've had some victories early in the year. We came back from break and actually played probably our best game of the year at McKendree. Played really well down there. Went to Bellarmine. Played pretty well down there. Sometimes in sports you don't get bounces to go your way, and there's a lot of bounces that I felt didn't go our way. I thought our kids played pretty hard and were executing what they were supposed to do, and just didn't get some of those bounces to go our way, and had to pick up the pieces. And this past weekend was a little disappointing for our team as a whole. I kind of felt like we might have taken a step backwards, and that's disheartening. But I certainly think we're a lot better today than we were at the beginning of the year, and that's always encouraging in the way you want to go.
I think the last time I actually watched your team play was against a really tough Southern Indiana team, and your team played extremely hard throughout that ball game. And one of the players that really stood out to me was Nicole Collins, and I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on her play during that game.
Sure, she's been one of those kids earlier in the year. Both of our freshmen have been not typical freshmen. Me coming in, I knew what the roster was, but if people wouldn't tell me, who's freshman, who's not, and I just walked in the gym and just started coaching them, I wouldn't say that they were freshmen. They both haven't been your typical freshmen. They've been really outgoing, play really hard, do the things that we ask them to do. They're very coachable. And Nicole was hampered early in the year with a couple of different injuries. She sprained her ankle twice. She's tweaked her back. So she took her a little bit longer to probably get going than Meredith, who's been basically starting throughout the whole year. But Nicole's been coming on as of late. She certainly has a good basketball IQ, feel for the game. She competes. She's one of our more steady competitors. She's just a little quiet right now as a point guard, and we want her to be a little more vocal, a little bit more leadership. But we like where Nicole is heading, and she's playing really well, and she's got a bright future here at UIS.
Yeah, I was about to mention, her future is bright here at UIS. And you mentioned a really good win on the road and at McHenry in Lebanon. And I was wondering maybe I can get your thoughts on, as a head coach, how does it feel to actually capture a big win on the road?
It's always, anytime you go on the road, it doesn't matter, conference, non-conference, whatever it is, you get a win on the road, it's always a good thing. And our kids went in there, and we really, as a coaching staff, didn't know what to expect. It had been a long time since we had played. Like we just got done talking about, there was 7 days of break where we didn't have any interaction with our team. A couple of days before that, we had a couple of practices, but they were still in finals at the time, so they weren't our typical kind of practices. And then we didn't play until the Saturday before that, so we really almost had another week on top of that. Once we came back, we did have a week of practices, but there was no games leading up to that McHenry game. So it was literally almost 3 weeks of non-games and a couple of practices thrown in and a long 7-day stretch of off. So we didn't know what to expect. The kids came in and executed and played hard. We've played our best overall game of the season at McHenry that first day, and I really thought leading up to that game, the practices continuously got better, more intense. Our shoot-around that morning was the best shoot-around we've had throughout the whole year. Kids were really focused, and they did a really exceptional job, and I'm glad it kind of turned out in their favor because they deserved it.
Always like talking to coaches about the challenges of the road, and I was wondering maybe you can give, as a head coach, what are some of the challenges you face as a head coach getting your team prepared for a really tough road game?
I would say this year is a little more difficult than other years just because we haven't experienced the GLVC at all. Don't really know locations. We're not sure how long it's going to take us to get there. Should we travel the day of the game and go and play? Should we go the day before? Meals are always something you got to try to figure out. Where are you going to eat? Should you stop in this city, that city? What do they have to eat? So it's always, logistics are tough. Trying to get your kids mentally prepared to play. Kids always want to play in front of friends and families, and they probably get a little bit more jacked up. The really weird thing with our team is I thought we actually played harder on the road the week before than we just did this past weekend versus Southern Indiana and Kentucky Wesleyan. So we certainly have some things that we have to work on, but we just have to continuously focus on being road warriors and having all at the same kind of goal mentality in approaching those games.
Speaking of road games, you're actually going to be on the road this weekend and on Thursday against a really tough Drury team, and on Saturday against a tough Missouri S&T team as well. And I was wondering maybe, if you could just give me your keys to victory for those two tough road matches.
Sure. I think we've talked about this even the last time I was on here, and it's something we as a team have probably constantly talked about, practices, film session, whatever we've kind of got together. And our biggest opponent right now is us. We have to continuously try to find a whole new level of play, how hard we're playing, our focus, challenge each other in practice, and come to games and try to limit possessions where we're not focused or not giving all-out effort by all 5 players and people on the bench. And that's probably going to be the biggest thing going into this road thing, especially considering what happened to us here this past weekend. We didn't really have that. And now the challenge is you got to do it on the road. You're not going to have friends and families that are sitting in the stands that are going to cheer you on in the last moments of the game when it's really tight. So we're going to have to really get after each other in practice and have that team mentality throughout the whole week, and especially on the road once we get to those games.
You mentioned your bench and players come off the bench, and I was wondering maybe you could just give me your thoughts on how important the bench players are coming off the bench, particularly on a road game.
Yeah, it's something that our program is trying to strive, is that we want to have depth as far as minutes being produced by the bench getting in the game. The style of play that we want to play is going to be a style that they're not going to be able to sustain it for a long period of time. So they're going to have to be able to play for a couple minutes and have somebody come off the bench, relieve them, and then they pick up the level of play and play as well. So that's always important, that we have a deep bench that can come in and give us productive minutes, but also just the support, the feeling that your bench players are going to be cheering you on, they're communicating, they're helping you through it. It's not just the 5 players that are on the floor that are the only ones that matter. They certainly give us a lot of energy and communication coming from the bench, and we're striving to get to that level, not only with our play on the floor, but also with our interaction as a team through the bench.
And you just really touched base on one of my questions when I asked you is leadership. And I witnessed your team play against Southern Indiana. I think one of the leaders I really saw was Megan Bergeru. And she's averaging actually 12.3 points per game for your ball club. And I was wondering maybe just talk about her play and her leadership within your team as well.
Yeah, Megan's kind of a quiet kid. I think a lot of the kids on the team really like Megan. She's very personable. She's fun to be around. She's got a great outlook on just life in general. And she's, on top of that, she's a really good player who really hasn't tapped out as far as her ability. She can still certainly get a lot better. The team really gravitates to her as a player and a person. So she's certainly somebody that I think the whole team looks up to as far as what to do, how to do it. Some players may be in awe at some of the things she can do in practice and whatnot. We just need Megan to show consistency and also try to be a little bit more vocal and helping her teammates, maybe get to her level as well.
All right, so right now you're about midway through the season. And I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on what you've seen as a head coach positively, within your team, and maybe some of the things that you kind of want to work on for the future.
Sure. I think we're starting to understand that there's going to be a lot of people that get a lot of minutes. There has been a number of kids that have improved a lot since day one. I think Gwen Zahner is somebody that the beginning from day one when we stepped on the court with her, she was kind of shy and timid and really questioning what she can do. And right now she's playing with a lot of confidence and playing pretty hard. And she can still get a lot better. She has a really high ceiling, and it's something that she needs to continuously work at. You've talked about Nicole, picking up her play coming off the bench. Mallory started to play a little bit better here as she started to understand some things. So we're starting to get some production from some people that early in the season may not have been producing as much. And that's really an encouraging thing, is when you can start to develop, as we kind of talked about a few minutes ago, a bench where as a team, the other team can't focus on one player. They can't just concentrate on Megan and take Megan away, because we're going to have some other people that can score and do some different things. So we're still in the process of developing some of those people so that we're well balanced as a team, and we still have to get better at that. I think the biggest thing for our team to really focus on is just that championship level of play. I think we haven't hit a stride where we're consistently giving effort and focus like we can throughout the whole game. Even the McKendree game, which has been our best game of the year, it was our best total minutes, but we didn't play 40 minutes in that game either. And there's been a lot of games, especially this past weekend, where we didn't get a good start. We need to start games better from the opening tip and not dig holes where we're trying to battle back from a 5-8 point deficit like we did kind of this past weekend. We battled back against Southern Indiana and had a lead late, but you expose so much energy and all those things trying to just get back into it that it takes a couple of plays when all of a sudden you're up by 4 points, and they make a couple of plays and even it out, and now it's a 1 or 2 possession game where if they get a lead and there's only a couple minutes left, you got to start fouling and doing some crazy things to win. So we just have to get better starts and be consistent for 40 minutes, and that's going to be the focus of our team moving forward.
Well, Coach, I just want to thank you very much for coming in and giving us a few of your minutes on a busy Tuesday here at UIS. So, and by the way, I hope you feel better too.
Thanks. I think it went through our team all the way through it, so hopefully it kind of cleared throughout our team, and hopefully we're not spreading it to anybody else here today or on campus. So.
And also, good luck this weekend as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
For more information on the women's basketball team here at UIS, you can always check out the UIS athletic homepage at uisprairiestars.com. I'm Michael Watson. Until next time, I'll see you later.